If they're only pushing personality, what if
That's the problem, Nick.
Right.
Personality means I got to like you.
Right.
Do you understand? So Obama got elected by black folks
Because we liked them.
because we liked him. I don't need to like you to do business with you. If I got to strike a deal with Donald Trump for black empowerment, I'll strike a deal with Donald Trump.
Breaking news. If it bleeds, it leads. In your news today.
You are now tuned in to Dirty Laundry Media.
Stand by.
After 8 years of inaction on any issues specifically affecting black Americans by Barack Obama, you would think that black people at large and black voters in particular would take a more pragmatic approach to politics from then on. Barack Obama's presidency, in my opinion, exposed the fatal flaw in black political strategy, confusing likability with electability and accepting symbolism over substance. In 2008, 55% of white voters cast their ballots for John McCain. In 2012, 59% of white voters cast their ballots for Mitt Romney. Obama captured nearly 95% of the black vote in 2008. During the first 2 years of his term, Democrats controlled both houses of Congress. Speaking from my point of view, I certainly didn't expect Barack Obama to single-handedly change black people's condition overnight. However, I did expect a very deliberate nod, policy-wise, to the constituency that gave him nearly all of their votes. Not only did he get our votes, he was also the beneficiary of an explicit agreement between black leadership, most notably Al Sharpton, the mainstream media and the black electorate, who agreed to never publicly pressure, critique or condemn Obama.
Sharpton told us that having a black president is a challenge. If he finds fault with Mr. Obama, he's aiding those who want to destroy him. So he's decided not to criticize the president about anything, even black unemployment that's twice the national rate. Have you told other blacks not to criticize him publicly?
What I've told them is to be genuine about it. There are some blacks that said, he needs to go with a black agenda. He needs to do this. He said when he was running, he wasn't going to do that. Duh, surprise?
But just because he didn't campaign on improving unemployment in black areas, why aren't you out there saying we need more done?
What I don't want to see is because he is black that we act like he's not the real president. He ought to be leading the black cause or the labor cause. He's the president. To minimize who he is, I think, is an insult to the achievement of having him there.
Al Sharpton, in his own words, along with many others, was satisfied with merely having a black face in a high place. Rather than advocate for the people of his group, Al Sharpton thought it more prudent to protect a politician who refused to act specifically for his African American constituents. When pressed about targeting the African American community, Barack advised us that that's not how America works, while providing specific remedies for other groups.
Why not target the African American community? Why not say then, this is for you, this is for African Americans? If there was a banking crisis, then you target money for the banks. If there was a national disaster, you target your money for the national for disaster relief.
That's not how America works. We want to give those young people and young Native Americans like them the support they deserve. We have to invest in them and believe in them and love them.
Asked about his critics among black leadership, Obama downplayed the number of those who dared speak against him as only a handful, and assured that the vast majority of black people had some universal understanding that what is good for all will be good for African Americans.
African American leaders have been critical of late. And it's true, you said you're the president for all people, not just for one group. If I'm a 16-year-old kid on the south side of Chicago, okay, my dad's gone, my mom's working 10 hours a day for peanuts, all I see around me is blight, there are no help wanted signs, and you won't even say, look, I'm going to help you, a young African American. How do I feel?
Emmett, first of all, that's not what people are saying. What people are saying all across the country is, we're hurting and we've been hurting for a long time. And the question is, how can we make sure that the economy is working for every single person? And the truth of the matter is the vast majority of African Americans understand that. The other thing I want to make sure that you don't just kind of slip in there is this notion that African American leaders of late have been critical. There have been a handful of African American leaders who've been critical.
Most members of the Congressional Black Caucus were quiet. Maxine Waters did chime in, however, citing high unemployment rates among African Americans. She also noted that they were unsure as to what the strategy was due to Obama's silence and absence from black communities while he toured the country during that time.
Distress over the dismal unemployment rate and other factors have led some African American leaders to openly criticize the president.
Our people are hurting. The unemployment is unconscionable. We don't know what the strategy is. We don't know why on this trip that he's in the United States now he's not in any black communities. We don't know that.
Obama's response to the criticism was direct and very condescending. Obama admonished the CBC, and all who dared speak out ostensibly, to stop grumbling and complaining and to shake it off.
So I don't know about you, CBC. Take off your bedroom slippers. Put on your marching shoes. Shake it off. Stop complaining. Stop grumbling. Stop crying.
One critic of note was Cornel West. West, an ardent Obama supporter and surrogate during his candidacy, was also a fierce critic of Obama during his presidency. West was able to appreciate the symbolism of an Obama presidency while still expecting and demanding substantive policy, directly targeted to the African American community.
You know, when you look at the speech that he gave at the Congressional Black Caucus, you know, offensive, condescending, insulting, disrespectful, stop
He
grumbling,
said, stop complaining, stop grumbling, stop crying.
Stop crying. I said to myself, he must, oh my God, can you imagine him saying that to Wall Street people, saying that to the Catholics, saying that to the gay and lesbian brothers and sisters, saying that to the Jewish brothers and sisters? And here he comes along with this kind of disrespectful language toward the very people who have been protective of him.
Stop complaining. Stop grumbling. Stop crying.
Can you imagine Brother Barack Obama going to the business roundtable and saying, stop grumbling?
West went so far as to characterize Obama's remarks as disrespectful and that he ought to ask for forgiveness for speaking in such a condescending manner in the face of legitimate criticisms.
Grumbling.
Stop complaining.
Stop complaining.
Stop crying.
Stop crying.
We have got 42% of our black children living in poverty. 22% we talked about before, people living in poverty. They have a right to cry. They have a right to have legitimate grievances. So I think the president ought to apologize. I think he ought to ask for our forgiveness.
My dear brother Barack, you know, out of deep love, I tell my brother it was condescending, it was arrogant, it was insulting, it was disrespectful. All the suffering in black America right now, 20%, 40% of our precious babies hungry, in poverty, and tell them to stop crying?
Stop crying!
No.
Okay, we always say, when someone tells you who they are, believe them. Somehow this principle was forgotten when it came to the first black president. After freely giving 95% of our votes to Obama, even after the tacit agreement between black leadership and the rank and file to not criticize Obama, when he was looked to for leadership, Obama decided it was best to take a defensive posture rather than a proactive one, lashing out at his critics in a most unpresidential manner. Most wilted in the face of such harsh pushback from the president. Those who expressed dismay were quickly silenced. Objective journalism took a decidedly partisan tone, with talking heads such as Al Sharpton, Melissa Harris Perry and Michael Eric Dyson, all employed by MSNBC, were unleashed upon all who dared to stand up to Obama. This was the time to step back and take stock of the situation. Granted, he was the first so-called black president and all of that, but when you receive an abundance of support, deserved or not, a nod in that direction when it's time to settle up is definitely in order. At the end of Obama's first term there should have been a reckoning. The gauntlet should have been laid down before the end of his first term, forcing him to push for specific policy from a democratically controlled Congress or via executive order akin to his DACA program. Something needed to be done in order to secure the vote for his second term.
If you want to pull the party, the major party that is closest to the way you're thinking, to what you're thinking, you must show them that you're capable of not voting for them. If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party because the left had nowhere to.
But no, black people were led to believe and/or deluded themselves into thinking that during his second term Obama would surely look out for African Americans. He would finally be unleashed. Instead, we got more of the same. Empty rhetoric and excuses for the next 4 years.
Number one, we have failed to publicly criticize and hold accountable the executive branch of the United States government, i.e. President Barack Obama. Despite all the killings, despite all the murders, despite an unemployment rate and a dropout rate that is greater under a black president than it was under the two previous Republican presidents, black people have remained silent. Obama has ignored black folks. In fact,
we allowed Barack Obama to ride our coattails to the presidency of the United States and float through an 8-year term with no real criticism. We were fine with Obama just being black, and that was all that we required. No policy, no executive orders, just be black, whatever that means. We laid down.
It's not all his fault, though. We have created a context where the president can ignore black people and get away with it because we told the entire world when he was elected that all he had to do was just be black. And we were fine, remember?
Yeah,
he doesn't have to do anything. Here's the problem. If we let Obama leave office without any condemnation from the black community, by virtue, you cannot hold Hillary or Trump accountable for what they do not do for black people, because you have now created a precedent where a president can come in for 8 years, ignore you, even with police genocide, and not receive any criticism.
Again, we confused likability with electability, and we accepted symbolism over substance. Rather than using the leverage of our 95% vote and push for substantive policy, we reveled in the imagery of the first black presidency, allowing ourselves to succumb to the cult of personality. Politics is all about the distribution of limited resources, who gets what and how much. In that regard, personality should not be what ultimately sells you on a politician. Policy which dictates whatever resources you require to address interests most vital to your agenda should be the motivating factor.
2, we have to get out of this mindset, Nick, that says I have to like you in order to vote for you. You a businessman. I'm sure you've done business with people you don't like.
Facts.
But it was mutually beneficial, right?
Right.
So you do it. That's how we need to approach politics. You don't exclude the Republican because he's a Republican.
Right.
And you don't automatically endorse the Democrat because he's a Democrat. You listen to them both and you choose the one who has an agenda that is closely aligned to the one you're trying to push.
But what if they're only pushing personality? What if
That's the problem, Nick.
Right.
Personality means I got to like you.
Right.
Do you understand? So Obama got elected by black folks
because we liked them.
Because we liked them. I don't need to like you to do business with you. If I got to strike a deal with Donald Trump for black empowerment, I'll strike a deal with Donald Trump, because what I'm not looking for is a black president or a black governor or a black mayor. I'm looking for black power. Stop confusing the personality with the power.
In short, African Americans would benefit from a more pragmatic approach to politics. Nothing fancy, just a simple, straightforward approach to the game. We need to stick to the fundamentals and not worry too much about the razzle-dazzle of modern-day political theater. It's certainly a circus, and if you're not careful you'll find yourself being distracted by the clowns rather than paying attention to the ringmaster. We've got to keep our eye on the ball, and if an opportunity to advance our position and possibly score presents itself, we've got to be prudent enough to act in a manner which will ultimately lead us to attain our desired ends. The mantra should always be, no permanent friends, no permanent enemies, only permanent interests when it comes to politics.